funny.
Yeah.
I've got to do another one. How do you overcome the fear of being publicly accountable to your friends and peers? Overcome the fear of failure, in brackets.
Right. Okay. So overcoming the fear of failure.
Yeah.
There's several components. One component is actually just relabeling it.
Yeah.
Right. When we live in a success culture where kind of you either haven't made a success or you're a failure. There isn't much room for the grey in most people. You're either doing stonkingly well and you're kind of doing amazing, or you're doing crap.
Yeah.
And most people have been thought to think of our tests as being failures, right? And everything we do is just an experiment.
Yeah.
Now, here's an example of why that is nonsense. Anybody who's a parent and they've got kids, that first time your little toddler got off his bum and tried to stand up and he was walking around the edge of the furniture, first time he tried to walk away from the furniture, right? Every toddler will fall back down, right? They'll land on their ass again. Hopefully. You don't turn around and you go, oh my God, you're such an idiot, you're such a failure, I can't believe you couldn't take that step.
Yeah.
Right? You see it for what it is, you go, poor little love, he's just learning.
Yeah.
Right? He's just learning. And once he's practiced it enough times, he'll get strong enough to do that, and he'll be able to balance his weight, and he'll be able to take not only the first step, but the second step and the third, right? And we understand that. We understand that there are things that a baby doesn't know how to do, and it needs time to practice those things, to learn it, and then adapt, and then master them, right? We understand.
Yeah.
We understand that in our children. We don't, you don't have a go at your 7-year-old because he can't drive your car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's nonsensical. But when we become adults, we suddenly get this idea of, okay, now I'm an adult, things that I've never been good at before, things that I've never practiced before, things that I've never done before, everyone's going to be looking at me and they all expect me to succeed at this right away. Well, that's a nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't make sense. Like, okay, I mean, you've never delivered a course on neuroendocrinology. And I go, but Rob, you call yourself a fitness professional and you're not willing to stand up in front of these 500 people and talk about neuroendocrinology. Shame.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I just bullshit my way through that one.
Don't we all? It doesn't make sense. But most people are telling themselves a story that, well, they're supposed to know this stuff.
Yeah.
How about you just lose the label of supposed to and just go, one of the ways to not be a failure is to accept the label of failure by literally just saying, hey guys, I'm learning something new, I've never done it before.
Yeah.
I'm still learning guitar at the moment. I get a little bit better every day, but I've never done it before. I didn't pick up the guitar and expect to kind of suddenly start playing kind of, the fanciest techniques. I started learning to play guitar by putting my thumb on one string and going, and it made a noise.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Exactly.
So if you don't allow yourself the label failure and you just convert it to learner, it changes it.
Why do you think that people do that? They put a lot of pressure on themselves for obviously to pick things up straight away and not take time in practicing these things. Why is that? Is it because of social hierarchy? Do they think that because people are watching that they have to do this? Is it or are they watching other people and seeing what they're doing and thinking, I must be able to do that?
It starts in childhood, and it's a sad thing, really, because until a child is about 4 or 5 years old, it doesn't really have a huge concept of failure. Okay, it doesn't have a huge concept of failure. It just you see little kids, they're just joyful. They'll dance in public, they'll sing walking through the supermarket. They'll pick their nose and eat it while they're looking at you. Right? They've got no concept of doing things right or wrong or any of those things. They just kind of do what feels good to them.
Yeah.
Right? When kids reach around about the age of 4 or 5 and they start to go out into further social circles, now they get eyeballs on them, and usually those eyeballs they can be all unself-conscious and they're singing and dancing, and then another group of kids who are usually a bit older look at them and go, oh, look what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now suddenly the kid becomes really self-conscious, and depending upon how much confidence they had in the first place, it may knock them, or it might not knock them, but it does set off an alarm bell in their mind. And one of the biggest human drivers that most people don't realise, one of the biggest human drivers is a human driver for connection. So we become threatened by anything that may create a disconnect. anytime, in other words, any form of judgment is a threat to the human psyche.
Yeah.
Right? Right, okay. People are looking at me and they're kind of saying that they don't like the way I'm doing it, or I'm doing this wrong, or that I should have done better. Crap. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm now under threat. So we start to care much more about fitting in. And fitting in, it's a weird thing because most people, if you ask them, wouldn't consider themselves successful.
Yeah.
And yet we try and fit in with, if you want to put it this way now, we try and fit in with other people who are failing, other people that are losing, but we try and fit in under the pretense of being successful. Now, when you look around, you just go, oh, well, all right, he doesn't struggle with the same things I struggle with, but he does struggle with stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all have our struggles, okay? So I may not have the same struggle as you with public speaking, but there's something that you find easy that I would definitely struggle with.
Yeah.
If we had the time to talk it through, right? That's just the truth. So
Yeah.
when we're essentially we're trying to avoid our fear of public disconnect. We're trying to avoid our fear of exclusion, and the way we do that is to try and avoid failure.
Yeah.
As soon as you relabel that and you see that failure is actually really nothing but learning, and that everybody learns, and in fact you won't ever get to success unless you commit to learning.
Yeah.
That changes things.
Yeah.
But most people will put themselves in the wrong place. They're like, I'm not gonna risk failure in front of these people. But the flip on the head that you get there is, okay, if I'm not going to risk failure, it's another way of saying I'm not really going to commit to success.
Yeah.
Because you ever get to success without the failures first. You won't ever get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've got to experience that failure before you actually become successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you probably get a few of them as well.
You'll get lost, just like the baby first leaving the furniture, right?
Yeah.
And then one day it's able to take one step and then it falls on its arse, and then another day, a week later, it can take 2 steps and then falls on its arse. Right?
Yeah.
And like one day we're able to walk all the way down the street and walk all the way to work, and how did that happen? It happened because of small successes that built up. It didn't happen because one day, as a baby, you got off your back and said, "Hey, I'm going to walk the pen line way."
Yeah. Yeah. Is this what you call exploring all routes? So
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah.
Absolutely that. It's opening yourself up to look at different ways, and also just understanding that maybe it's not failure in itself. Maybe you can't do something. Maybe you're just doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it comes back to these maps. Maybe someone's given you a map that worked perfectly well for them because maybe they were a visual learner, or maybe they were an auditory learner, or maybe they were kinesthetic and they learned well through touch. Maybe your intelligence comes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? I've known people who describe themselves as stupid because I was really crap in school, kind of, and they're thinking about things like math that they were crap at, and they weren't particularly good at English, right? And then when I see them do something physical, they have a lot of physical intelligence.
Yeah.
Wow, you're really good with your hands, and you pick things up really quickly, and you can play musical instruments, but they see that I've never been very bright. Well, no, it's just how you label it. What it's not are you intelligent, it's what is your intelligence.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the same thing goes for your failures. It's not like, okay, you are a failure. It's just like, okay, I'm failing at this, but a better way of putting it is, what is failure? It's not getting the outcome you expected. That's all it is.
Yeah.
When you're not getting the outcome you expected, you've got a choice of going back and trying the experiment exactly the same way again and go, okay, it now hasn't worked for me twice. It now hasn't worked for me 3 times. 5 times, 10 times. Okay, this diet malarkey hasn't worked for me. But most of us don't see it that way. We see it as we failed our diets, when actually it's our diets failed us.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people where they've come onto the camps and it's like, well, I weigh myself every day, or I weigh myself once a week, and I do this and I do that, and it's like they expect to do that when they come to me, you know, like what they've been doing, and I say, no, we're gonna try it this way, and they're saying, well, no, but I always do that. But then the easiest question in the world is, well, how is that serving you?
Yeah.
And then they just think, well, maybe it isn't. You know.
If you've always done that and it's never worked.
Yeah. It's like